The excavation team saw a pipe going underground in the middle of a dense jungle. This was quite surprising because the place where they were standing was an old dead volcano, which had been completely covered by trees, plants, and grass. To look inside the pipe, they decided to send a night vision camera into it. When the camera went inside, after going about 30 meters down, it captured the view of a very large tunnel. This was the day of March 2018, and the excavation team, near the city of Luban in South Poland, was about to see something unique 30 meters below the ground. When the camera was moved inside this tunnel, they astonishingly saw a railway track there. They were still in confusion about what the railway track was doing there when a distant minecart caught their attention. When the local authorities found out, they came with a map of a tunnel that had been lost since the time of World War II. It was discovered that this tunnel was built around 80 years ago during the era of World War II, and for the past several years, the local authorities had been searching for this tunnel. The entrance to this tunnel was sealed with heavy stones, over which years of dirt, grass, and debris had erased even its traces. But from the inside, the tunnel exactly matched the one shown on the map. Seeing the tracks and the minecart inside, it seemed that this tunnel was used for storing goods during the time of World War II. Most of the iron objects present in the tunnel had rusted. From here, shovels, drill bits, and pickaxes were found in the same condition. Like I met them 80 years ago, the Nazi military soldiers had built it. During World War II, countries like Nazi Germany and Japan were in conflict with nations like America and Britain. During this time, Hitler's army built underground bunkers in large numbers. Although Hitler initiated it, later the Allied forces also started using underground tunnels and bunkers. During World War II, bunkers held significant strategic importance, serving both defensive and offensive purposes. This meant that, in some places, their purpose was to protect from enemy attacks, while in others, they were used to launch attacks on the enemy. These bunkers provided protection from enemy airstrikes and artillery shells, and offered soldiers a secure base. Defensive bunkers were positioned on the front line. This way, it was designed so that it could stop enemy attacks, like Germany's Atlantic Wall, which was a strong obstacle against the Allied forces' attacks. Also, some bunkers were used for planning, where commanders secretly managed their operations. In World War II, so many underground bunkers and war rooms were constructed that even today, counting them is not possible because thousands of them are still buried somewhere underground. It is said that during World War II, the Allied powers and Axis powers spent so much on underground bunkers that there was a shortage of iron and cement worldwide. According to an estimate, constructing all these bunkers cost approximately between $500 billion to $1 trillion in today's value. To put it into perspective, the United States spent $300 million daily during its 20-year-long war in Afghanistan. In contrast, in World War II, the daily expense of building bunkers was $460 million. And this was just the construction cost. Estimating the expenses of manpower, logistics, and ammunition in World War II is unimaginable. It is difficult. Let's go into the bitter memories of history and learn about some bunkers. The Atlantic Wall was a very large coastal defense system that Nazi Germany built during World War II. It was spread over 2,400 miles or 3,800 km along the coastline of Europe, whose purpose was to protect against attacks from the sea by Allied forces. This system, built between 1940 and 1944, included thousands of bunkers, ammunition depots, and fortresses. At that time, Hitler had also occupied several regions of France. A part of the Atlantic Wall extended to the northern French region of Normandy, where the Long-Sommer artillery battery was installed. These bunkers were designed to withstand heavy bombardments and provide defensive fire during attacks. If we talk about Norway, its lower part could have been used to stop the Allied forces coming from the North Atlantic Ocean. That's why Hitler also placed some sections of the Atlantic Wall here. Here, fortresses like Kristiansand protected naval routes. Apart from this, the Netherlands was also under Nazi control at that time, and thousands of Sévignon-named bunkers were built along the North Atlantic coast. This entire Atlantic Wall of Nazi Germany, which included underground bunkers, depots, tunnels, artillery batteries, and fortresses, was built by a German engineers company named Fritz Todt. 260,000 workers, most of whom were prisoners, were forced to build all these structures within just 2 to 4 years. Even today, some parts of the Atlantic Wall exist as historical monuments that remind us of the engineering of World War II and the expenses incurred on it. When Hitler built the Atlantic Wall, at that time, it was beyond the imagination of the Allied powers. How much trouble they would have to face in the future. Then, in 1942, an incident occurred that opened the eyes of America and Britain. The Canadian forces, which were a part of the Allied powers, planned an attack on the region of Dieppe in France. The attack, which is now remembered as the Dieppe Raid, aimed to understand how Hitler's Atlantic Wall worked. These strong concrete bunkers badly failed the Allied attack. The Allied troops trying to land on the coastline fell victim to Nazi Germany's powerful crossfire. This was a huge blow for the Allied forces because they had so much confidence in overcoming the Atlantic Wall's strength. Among the Allied soldiers who came, 3,600 either died or were taken prisoner by the Nazis. After the Dieppe Raid, the Allied forces realized that if they wanted to launch a successful attack on Hitler's regime, they needed to invest heavily in planning bunkers and defense systems. As a result, the United Kingdom, France, and the Soviet Union, along with Canada, spent heavily on the construction of bunkers and tunnels. Churchill War Rooms was an underground complex that served as the headquarters of British Prime Minister Winston Churchill during World War II. This complex was designed to remain safe from Nazi Germany's airstrikes. France's Maginot Line, built after World War I, also saw the construction of new underground bunkers and tunnels. France believed this system would protect them. But during World War II, Germany bypassed the Maginot Line through Belgium and occupied France. On the other side of the world, Japan, which was supporting Hitler during World War II, also dug hundreds of underground bunkers. A whole network was created beneath Iwo Jima, which included hidden artillery positions, storage rooms, and living quarters. These tunnels were used for surprise attacks during Allied assaults. The bunkers and tunnels of Okinawa were larger and more complex, where thousands of Japanese soldiers took positions for defense and resistance. These defensive systems were designed to delay Allied invasions and cause as many casualties as possible. The engineering behind the bunkers built by different countries during World War II is nothing short of a miracle. On one hand, it was wartime, and on the other, there was a shortage of everything. Despite all these challenges, there was a constant threat of airstrikes at every passing moment. And beyond all that, the construction of underground tunnels. Workers would also die from suffocation. But despite all these challenges, thousands of bunkers were not only built, but many of them are still hidden underground in the same condition, especially those that were built in Axis power countries, because after World War II, when their rule ended there, at that time either the soldiers ran away after sealing the bunker entrance or they died inside it, so no one even knew which bunker was built at which location. There was one way to find the location of all these bunkers and tunnels, and that was the secret documents possessed by Hitler's government. But they were either burned or hidden in a place known only to the one who hid them. And especially these bunkers were built camouflaged, meaning they were integrated into the natural terrain in such a way. These military bunkers were built in such a way that no one would know they existed. That is why, after the war, these bunkers remained hidden. Special ventilation systems were created for underground bunkers that brought fresh air inside and expelled carbon dioxide. Nazi leader Adolf Hitler relied on several bunkers during his reign. Among the most famous bunkers he used was the Eagle's Nest, also known as the Kelstein House. This bunker was built in Obersalzberg, Germany, for secret meetings and relaxation. Constructed using concrete and granite, it had bomb-proof features. Hitler's second most famous bunker was not just a simple Führer bunker in Berlin. It was actually an entire headquarters. This bunker was designed in such a way that it remained safe from Allied bombings and artillery attacks. Hitler spent his last days here and ended his life on April 30, 1945. Today, no part of this bunker is visible on the surface, but this place remains a dark chapter in World War II history. Now, let's talk about Hitler's bunker, where he spent most of his war days. This bunker, known as Wolfschanze, Wolf's Lair, looked more like a fortress than a bunker. It was located in the middle of a forest in northern Germany. Inside, there was Hitler's bedroom, surrounded by office suites. The roof of the bunker was approximately 7 meters thick. A thick layer of gravel covered the entire fortress-like bunker, making it safe from airstrikes and bombings. The entrance had a thick steel door, which could even protect against chemical attacks. This bunker, which resembled an Egyptian tomb, was so strong that even today, it is nearly impossible to destroy it completely. It was built with such high security that not even a single window was included in its design. A special ventilation system was installed here, which circulated fresh air throughout the entire bunker. However, despite all this security, this bunker was made invisible in the landscape of the jungle. Its roof was covered with soil, and the same trees and plants that were present in the surrounding jungle were planted on it. Because of this, when an aircraft passed overhead, there was no way it could even suspect that Hitler's headquarters was located here. The Allied powers, namely the USA, UK, Canada, and other forces, had spent years planning to break through Germany's strong defensive bunkers and the Atlantic Wall to face Hitler's Atlantic Wall. More than 156,000 troops, 5,000 ships, and 11,000 aircraft were used. This was the 6th of June, 1944, a day remembered as D-Day. On this day, Germany faced the Allied forces' attacks from the bunkers and artillery of the Atlantic Wall, but their planning and resources were not as effective. Allied airstrikes and paratroopers made a strong impact on German communication and defense. The Allied forces initially faced significant losses, but ultimately, they succeeded in breaking Nazi Germany's control over Europe. I hope you will like and share this video from History Eager Video. A huge thank you for your love-filled comments. We will meet in the next amazing video.